Hi, this is Paul Pharma. Today I'm talking again about communication, a slightly different perspective to yesterday. Today I want to talk about summarizing, because really summarizing demonstrates that you've actually understood what the other person said. If somebody's talking for giving you an explanation, maybe they're talking for a minute or two, and you can summarize your understanding of what they say within one or two sentences, then it improves clarity and communication. And if you're communicating clearly and the other person understands, and you get the feedback that they've understood, makes the transfer of information, which is what communication is about, much more effective. Now, I personally learnt to summarize and paraphrase, as it says at the top, when I was doing my degree back in the 80s. I used the skill. I suppose I developed the skill over time, because you can't copy what you find in the books, of course. So you have to reword it. Well, that's paraphrasing, isn't it? And then you've got maybe 20 books to refer to and thousands of words. Well, I remember I wrote once, and it was an assignment, not a dissertation. I wrote 15,000 words, but the limit was 3. So I ended up summarizing the content that I'd created based on what I've been reading, because I enjoyed the topic. So I summarized it down to 3,000 words, did my submission. Unfortunately, in doing so, I probably lost some of the, not necessarily the content, but the accuracy, the focus, because I'd written too much, because I was enjoying what I was talking about, what I was writing about. The grade wasn't so great. And what I found was, when I actually targeted what I wanted to write about and summarize as I went along, that it ended up with a better result. Now, it's really important that you learn to summarize when you're explaining something, because it may be that you can say it in 3 hours. But what if you've only got 5 minutes? Well, you have to summarize the key points. It's a really important skill to be able to get over the communication, so that people understand what it is, the key points, the basic aspects of what you want to talk about, so that they can decide really whether they want to come and talk to you some more to get the full version and learn even more than they did from the summary. And then, of course, you've got the backwards and forwards, the feedback loop, enhancing your actual ability to deliver the content. And I find in the pharmaceutical industry, we tend to focus a lot on email, on automated notifications, on written communication, and not so much on the actual ability to talk to people anymore, which to me is quite disappointing, because I do find that the non-verbal skills that we all innately have are left behind. And many people that just communicate by email, you find that there's often miscommunication, that there's a misunderstanding about what was intended. And similarly on the phone, you can't see the other person. And I know it's difficult at the moment to actually meet face to face. So the best alternative, meet on a call, on a video link, whether that be Teams or Zoom or GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar or one of the other various tools that's now available. But what I would still emphasize is we're all pushed for time. So if you can get straight down to the point, summarize your content, then you'll actually communicate more, because you'll have time to talk about all the topics that you wanted to review, rather than just delivering one point in half an hour, which could have taken 3 minutes. I do remember when my first supervisory role, we used to have a meeting that was quite long, drawn out, laborious, a bit too much casual chat rather than focused. And I found that it was getting longer and longer, and we ended up with a 2-hour meeting every week. But the output from the meeting was getting worse and worse quality. So what I decided to do was set an agenda. And this was it was the quality review meeting with the production manager. And there was a few other people involved, and we tended to get off topic. So I set the agenda, and the next meeting took 30 minutes. But that was partly because that's all I'd scheduled. And I gave the agenda, and I directed the meeting myself as the lead. And that's what I find now. If you want to actually achieve more in the quality department, focus. Target what you're supposed to be doing. Make sure you've got your agenda in place. And when you do come to describe what you're doing, make sure you've thought about it beforehand and summarize the content so that you can actually tell the people what you're going to talk about. Then, of course, you go through and talk about it. And again, you should be summarizing at the end. And I usually use the action points to do the summary at the end, because I find that's a good way to remind people of what you need them to do, what results you need to achieve, maybe something to do with CAPAs or the deviations. Or maybe it's a risk assessment or risk management approach that you need to take that maybe somebody's not been going in depth enough. Maybe they need to improve on the root cause analysis. But if you talk about it at the beginning, you communicate the content, and then you summarize at the end, you'll find that people remember more. I know I've been studying training techniques and learning and understanding for quite a long time now. I think it was early to mid 1990s when I first started from an academic perspective and then applied my knowledge in the industrial field, primarily pharmaceuticals, but also devices, device manufacturing, and a bit of toiletries. But the toiletries I soon got out of because I didn't really get on with it so well as I did with the other two. So where did we get to? Well, summarize. Tell them, learning skills. The core recommendation, one of the recommendations for enhancing people's retention, apart from using the different sensors, is to tell them what you're going to tell them, so you introduce it. Tell them, so you go for the content, and then tell them what you told them, which of course is the summary at the end, repeating it all again. So actually you end up telling them everything 3 times. And if you then put that into slides on the screen, and you add a bit of animation, and then you have something that draws up some emotion as part of the content, you've got a much better chance of the people that you're training actually taking it on board and implementing, if you're really fortunate, the training that you've given them so that they actually improve the quality management system and that the pharmaceutical company that you're leading does a better job. Okay, that's it for today. It's Paul Palmer. Thank you.